I'm Ross Chapman,
And I'm Dana Publicover.
and we are Go Getters.
This is a podcast all about ambitions and the shit that gets in the way. So, what is getting in the way for you this week, Ross?
Shall we get right into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, in the life section, quite a few things are going on actually. I have a trip now booked with my son. We are going to do a multi-day cycling adventure over the South Downs Way, which is a
Never heard of it.
No, it is a hill route for over about 3 days. We're camping and we're just gonna explore together. So really
awesome.
Happy that is booked in. And my dad came over last week and we fitted some blinds because I kind of get a bit too warm in here. And we went out for a walk and we talked about the realization that we're going to have to become more social or sociable. And that is a complete rewiring. It's the opposite of what we've been kind of conditioned to do over the last 12 months. So yeah. And Steph, actually, my wife, said it the best. She said, we're going to have to treat this as just having the flu or just, having that in our mind and just having to start being social. In the UK, we are going to be allowed to hug each other from next Monday.
That's exciting.
But don't hug too much. That's what they said.
Well, because hugging leads
selectively hug.
Selectively hug. So I think it's interesting because you're in the UK, you're in a much different place COVID-wise than Germany, because we only have 8% of our population vaccinated. We are ramping up. Apparently, they're going to open the AstraZeneca to everybody, which is
okay.
I'll take whatever vaccine you'll give me. I don't care.
It comes Ross approved.
Ross approved. All right, yeah. Team AZ. So yeah, but we're still in lockdown. Everything is still closed. And things just have not changed. So with the weather, the last 2 days, we finally had some actual spring weather. It stopped raining briefly. The sun came out and it wasn't cold. So I've seen a lot of people around and I've seen a lot of people outside, but we're required to wear masks outside still in most places. So I think, I don't know, I think you're a lot closer to getting back to some sort of normalcy and opening up that social thing. I think we're going to be several months behind in that.
Yeah, it's and it could all change.
Right.
How
long do you think we're going to wear masks?
I think we're going to wear them for a very long time, and I'm still trying to work out what they're going to do on flights, because that's recycled air.
It's disgusting.
I think that's going to be a much longer haul.
I have a pun intended. I've developed these weird mask tics.
Oh yeah, let's go to you. Yeah. Well, what have you got to share?
This isn't really my main topic, but I wanted to share, if we were talking about masks, that I have these weird like facial tics I'm doing underneath my mask. And I wonder if those are going to be just part of me now when I stop wearing masks. Like, okay, here's an example. Because you can't see my smile, when I see someone, I give them a big smile. So I like smile extra with my eyes.
Smile with your eyes.
I like, but not smize. It's not sexy. It's definitely like, sour lemon eyes. And so it's like, I wonder if I'm going to do that when I'm not wearing a mask. And then also I've never been a mouth breather, but the mask, I sometimes like have my mouth open a little bit, and I wouldn't normally just hold my mouth open if I'm just in a store, like, but, so I don't know if like, when I'm not wearing a mask, am I going to be like this? And
completely different.
Yeah. But anyway, my life topic. So Jim, my husband, and I were having a conversation about superpowers, and I realized there's not a single superpower that I would want to have. And I think there's something wrong with me.
Okay. Like, did you go through them all?
Or? Yeah. Like, what superpower would you want if you could have any of them?
The flight one is good. The invisible one's a bit creepy. I wouldn't want to listen to people's thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, this is the train that I went down. Oh, that's the timer. But let's go on this for a minute because I want to hear your thought.
Okay. But yeah, the flight one's cool. The thing is, I wouldn't want anyone to see. So then it goes to the invisible thing again. Yeah.
Super strength.
Super strength. I don't feel the need for that.
Okay. What about the ability to commune with wildlife or like summon them? Because I thought for a second, and then Jim was like, yeah, but it would take the wildlife so long to come to your rescue. Like if I was standing right there in the garden at that moment, I could get some ants, but they would take a while, and then they would have to climb up his leg if he were my attacker. Like it wouldn't. You can't just like summon a bear.
I love your conversations. This is
what we talk about. It's great. Yeah, he wants all of the superpowers.
Okay, so you say you want
guy.
You want none of them, and he wants all of them.
He's like, I'll take any that I can have.
Okay.
Like for a minute, I was feeling the wildlife thing, and then I was like, well, what about the ability to command weather? But I'm like, that only helps me a small amount of time, and that would probably really damage the ecosystem if you think about it. Like super strength, I don't really want that. I feel like that would cause more harm than good. Super hearing, I don't want to hear stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, maybe I could just be Batman because he's super rich. Like he doesn't have to get involved in crime. And then I was like, well, I guess I don't want a superpower. I just want to be wealthy. And that's where we ended the conversation. You never thought of one. You didn't think of one you wanted. So maybe you're defective like me.
Yeah. I guess I don't know all of them. I'm not that knowledgeable. No.
Right. X-ray vision, not really necessary.
The
lock picking, is that a superpower or just like a skill? I'd like that one. I could just get a credit card and like.
I think maybe instead of flying, maybe teleportation could be quite interesting. I mean, just imagine how much money you'd save.
Oh, but think about your cellular structure, though. I mean, that's
yeah. I wasn't thinking.
It would break down over. God, Ross, it's like you didn't even think about your cellular structure breaking down. When your molecules like split and then reassemble in the new place, there's going to be some kind of long-term damage there. We haven't looked into it enough.
No, you haven't.
You saw Star Trek 6. You know what happens when things get mixed up.
Yeah, Scotty gets.
Somebody's gonna at me and say it was Star Trek 7. I know it.
Okay.
Let's move on to Tool Talk. Tool Talk is our new section. What tool are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about butter.
Butter! New kid on the block.
Yeah. Very new. Very, very slick.
It's cute.
It's an awesome tool. Yeah.
Okay,
so
tell us what it does.
I will. And they are just a great group of people. They've been putting together this tool for the last 6 or so months. It really only started last year.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, super new. And it's interesting to talk about it now because they were on Product Hunt last week.
I saw that. I gave them an upvote.
They got, number 5 product of the month, April 2021. And they're just a great group of people, and as a consequence to that, they've made a great product. So Butter is a all-in-one tool to run the smoothest virtual workshops.
Smooth like butter.
Smooth like butter.
I get it now.
What that practically looks like is you would start a workshop with Butter. It is a visual communication tool, but it also, we should get these little highlights sponsored eventually. That's a good point.
Sponsored by not butter.
But what it does is you're able to start a conversation And then you're able to bring in tools into that conversation. So there's an integration with Figma, there's an integration with Miro,
Not
and
Mural.
with not
Yeah.
right now,
Oh, okay.
and
All right.
also with Google Drive. So
Oh, I didn't realize that one.
yeah, so it's a
Oh.
really awesome kind of extendable tool. But what I love most about it is the experience of it. When you start a call or a session on Butter, you get this kind of waiting music that's really, really nice. You get to share emojis. I think they were one of the first products to start using emojis as
It's
a
like a
kind of
vote.
feedback, yeah,
Yeah,
loop.
that's cool.
And they've got some really handy tools. There's a built-in agenda that kind of visually
I
reduces
love
over
that.
time.
Yeah.
There's polls, and actually this spurred on a draft article that I haven't published yet
Oh,
on using polls as a warm-up. Actually, no, I did a LinkedIn Live on it. Uh,
he doesn't even remember. So
there's
much content in that brain.
so much going on. You start a workshop with a poll. Instead of saying, hey, everyone just write, how are you feeling today, or some good news, what you can do is ask something in the mode of a poll. And what I like about it is that you don't have to put everything in an online whiteboard. There's actually hundreds of tools out there that you can start using that may be more effective than doing on a whiteboard. So,
And there are some great tools that if you could do all of them in one virtual meeting in addition to the whiteboard, it would be great. And I think that's where Butter kind of comes in, because I was teaching workshops on what not to do in a workshop. And it was, you don't want people to leave the area, because every time you change platforms, you lose people. And it's also just hard to keep up with it. And then you've got people like, can you send the link again? What was the link again? Etc. I can't get in. Can you help me log in? So when we build workshops in Miro, we're building in that or Miro, building in that voting aspect, building in that thought gathering, and trying to do all the activities, pushing the whiteboard to the limit. If that's no longer a requirement, if all the tools are in one place and you never leave that meeting dashboard, I'm going to call it a dashboard because it feels dashboardy.
mhm.
I mean, that solves most of those problems.
Yeah, totally.
What's the pricing structure like on Butter?
So at the moment, it is free.
Oh, everybody go do it.
And the other reason for everyone to go do it is that you can bag your own vanity URL.
I'm doing it now. I want Butter/Dana.
So you could get slash whatever. I got Ross Chapman. I'm that on most things. I could have got just Ross, but then I'd not be consistent. But yeah, and while you do that, Dana, the product hunt event that they did, I thought was a masterstroke. What they did was, as well as being on Product Hunt for that day, and if no one knows, Product Hunt is like a who's who of new digital products and physical products, and it kind of shows it as like a gallery type thing. What they did on their Product Hunt day was they had a day full of free workshops, and they were using Butter, but what they were providing was just ultimate value to everyone, so that it wasn't just, can you upvote us on Product Hunt? It's, can you come and look at this free content, and maybe you might want to upvote as well. So I thought, as a strategy for launching a product, I thought it was just incredible.
Mhm.
And like I say, I think there's much more to come from them. Unlike other tools that we use for remote facilitation, Butter's relatively new, but they are
Yeah,
so
surprisingly.
feature rich at the moment. I think they can really improve very, very quickly.
I mean, time's up there, but
Yeah.
I agree with you, because when we see a tool that comes out right out of the gate, that feature rich, to steal your phrase, the features usually aren't fully realized, or they don't really make sense, or they're kind of like random, like a mishmash of stuff, but Butters seem really cohesive. So I'm ready to be a Butter fan. I'm ready to try that instead of maybe Zoom on some meetings and see what my clients think about the experience.
I think that's a good metric to have.
Yeah. Plus their interface is so cute. Their branding is executed so beautifully.
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Awesome.
So yeah, there'll be a link in the show notes to go there. And like we said, if anything, go there just to grab your vanity URL, because hey, this might blow up really in a big way, and you're not
Slash
going to want
Dana's
to miss
taken
that.
now. So
Slash Dana's taken. So good.
And now for the work section.
Work.
Do you want to kick us off for this one, or you want me to do it?
Well, I kind of covered the tool quite a bit. So yeah, do you want to go ahead with the work?
Starting our timer.
Okay.
So this is something that I want to, now that I have a soapbox, I want to stand on it and use it for this, because this is a problem that I feel is like a rookie consultant move. I see it all the time, and I want you to just stop. Your clients are not stupid. You need to treat your clients like the experts in their own field. You're the expert in the field you're consulting in. You're bringing that expertise, but you don't blast through the door guns blazing like you're not like Gordon Ramsay yelling at these people because they've run their restaurant into the ground and they haven't cleaned the grill properly. Marcus Lemonis, I think that was his name. Gosh.
Sure.
He was like the business Gordon Ramsay, and just so rude to people. But I think there's this hero complex that consultants get. They think, oh, my clients, I'm the first to tell my clients about a design sprint or design thinking. They've never heard of innovation. They don't know how to be creative. And that's such a mistake when you realize that what your client may not be an expert in design sprints, but they're an expert in running their business. They've been in business this long, these enterprise companies, and your job is to figure out how to help that CEO, if C-suite is your client, or management, whatever it is, help them figure out how to use the methods and the philosophies that you're bringing and you're representing and integrate them into their existing business practices. So you're not trying to force a 200-year-old company or whatever it is to completely pivot and change their business model. It's a huge ship. It's going to turn really slow. Instead, you have to show them how it works in the inner workings of their own organization. You have to regard them as experts in their field and not this almost, it's condescending almost. It's this really aggressive approach. And I see it so much, and it reeks of rookie consulting to me. You're not acting as a partner. You're not coming in with humility and a learning mindset, a beginner's mindset. You're not coming in open-minded and ready to learn from your client. I think about the industries that I've learned so much about just in working with the clients I've learned. And I'm sure I made this mistake too. I used to, even when I was shooting weddings, I would think like, how do these people not know how to pose for pictures? But I actually don't know how to pose for pictures myself. So it's not something people just know. But I think there's just this like bravado, like you just come in the door and you're like, I'm going to fix this place up because you guys have been doing it wrong the whole time. And it's just, I don't like that.
You're there to serve.
Yeah. Right.
Like going in that situation and going and just having the thought that they're stupid. I mean, that's not, first of all, being a very kind human, but second of all, they're just, like you say, doing the best with what they have
absolutely
in the situation that they can. And I know that there are often political issues that do mean that work is stymied. So politically, sometimes then you can use your superpower, if you will, to cut through. But it is a mistake, and actually you won't be successful in what you want to, and form a long-term relationship, which actually should be some of what you want to achieve, because recurring revenue is much easier and cheaper.
It's like if I run into a client and I'm talking to them about sales, and it's like, well, we really want to scale our sales. We're really looking for sales maturity, but we don't really know where to start. And I'm like, okay, well, what CRM are you using? And they're like, we don't use one. I feel like, what? That's ridiculous. How are you in business and you don't have a CRM? No, I'd be like, okay, what are you using right now for that function? Like, what works for you? And then I help from there. There's no reason like to make them feel like they've done it wrong. And I think this actually was triggered by something. I just remembered it. One of the new clients that I've onboarded is talking about a previous consultant who worked with them, and they said that they felt embarrassed because it was pointed out everything that they had done wrong or that they didn't know. And your client should never feel like that.
I think, unfortunately, for some reason, that is a method that is used, and the people using it are well aware of it.
Is it to command respect?
I think it's to show them what they don't know, and then you're the solution. I don't think that works in the 2021 world.
But my method achieves that.
Exactly, and probably with greater impact. And you're bringing people along, and you're probably educating them as well. Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. I don't think pointing at everyone's flaws and saying that
you're idiots. The rock star. What do you mean? You haven't read Sprint? What are you doing?
Attached to that, it's a bit tangential, but I recently saw a little clip of Steve Jobs talking about consultants. Bless you. And he didn't really rate consultants because of one key reason, not because they were just talking and just advising. It's because they were never on the product or service or the business long enough to see the impact of what they were advising. And so he had a very kind of, he didn't have a great view of consultants because they were there to fix a problem and then they go away and they don't see the impact of what they did. And I took that because running, short workshops, in, parachute in, solve the problem and out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, that's a different view on it.
But I have consulted and seen a project. I had a client, my longest client ever, 6 years. We launched many things and saw them through. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I don't think it's your technique to go in and say that they're not very clever.
No, they're not. You need to regard them as the experts that they truly are, and realize that they're running a business or they're part of a company and they have a function and they're very good at what they do. They're not good at what you do.
Yeah, exactly. They're missing a few key roles that will get them to achieve what they want to achieve, or they don't know what they want to achieve, and you add that role in yourself to help them. So yeah, I don't, and it's also not your job to do performance reviews on the people you're working with.
No.
I mean, you don't come in on day one and go, you're not great based on this matrix that I've got, or
there probably is a consultant out there with an onboarding matrix.
Let's just look at your OKRs.
State of the affairs. Yeah. Did you have a work topic?
So my work topic is closely related to that. It's about how I think now is the time for practitioners and creators to really show people what they're made of. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people in our industry that talk the talk, but they, linked to what you said, they don't have evidence, or they're not creating anything to either make that expertise more practical or follow through with what they're talking about. Case in point, it would be around, your pitchcraft sessions, you created content and a structure. You weren't just there to kind of guide and listen and kind of weigh in on your opinion. You actually had a set of principles and a roadmap and extra material for people to read through. So I feel like that was very structured. And I think the way that we work remotely now, you do need all of that. I don't think you're able to, I've been advised in previous roles that in an agency, you want to invite them to your office and wheel out the red carpet and schmooze them and make sure that they have a great experience. But actually, when it comes down to your value and what your expertise is, it's just not good enough. The kind of entertaining and the making it a great experience as a client, it falls flat because you're either not great at what you do, there might be better alternatives, or you're just throwing these kind of terms at them and not really following up with years of experience. Or if I'm a product designer, where are all my products? And where are they on Product Hunt?
So you're saying that
the proof?
It's not enough to say like, oh, I am I'll use myself as an example. It's not enough to say I'm a sales expert. It's on me to create content and original material that shares and showcases and validates that expertise, instead of just saying like, I've, for the last 10 years, I've worked with Google and Twitter and all the other ones that everyone's worked with now.
Yeah. And totally. And I link it to what I see with YouTubers and creators on Fiverr. They are creating stuff, and for the last few years, they've kind of been ridiculed, and they people have kind of cast them aside as side hustlers, and the rates are really low, and they just wouldn't compete with a $1,000 a day agency. But you know what? They are going to eat their breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Can we point out, having both of us been from that world, the agency world, that the $1,000 a day agency is hiring the $20 a day or $20 an hour designer to come in onto that project. So they're really just acting as the intermediary. You have insanely talented creative people at the very bottom getting the very small piece of the pie, and the agency does eat up that huge overhead, right?
Yeah, the margin thing is margin. The difference is fine, I think, if they are taking the responsibility of building brand and working like a recruitment company and finding that talent and actually doing a service that warrants that. But I think there are probably too many that are being lazy, and they are just the gatekeepers to the people that you could go directly to.
Right. I mean, that's been my experience.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And that's the timer. That was perfect.
And that's the timer. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I'm setting the timer and we are moving on to the learning section. Ross, why don't you start us off and tell us, what have you learned or experienced or absorbed? What did I say? Observed? Maybe that's what I meant.
Yeah.
What are you ingesting lately?
So for the last few episodes, it hasn't been too theoretical or academic, and I'm making up for that in this episode. So this week, I've encountered a donut. It's called the Donuts of Economics, or Donut Economics, from a incredible person called Kate Rayworth. And essentially, I'll link it to the show notes, but it is a model to deliver the promise of balance between climate change, pollution, land conversion, education, water, food, health. It's a model to apply to a country, a city, an area. And Amsterdam, I believe, is the first city to embrace this model. It looks like a donut, but the inner circle is the shortfall and the outer circle is the overshoot. So you really want that balance within the middle. And I don't know about a lot about sustainability. I have watched a few documentaries on Netflix, and I found this to be the most practical model for it. Just to kind of visualize it, but also use it as one kind of dashboard, if you will, to get a measure of what are we succeeding at, what are we failing at, are we doing greater gender equality or not so great at housing, are we lacking in energy strategies and building for the future.
I gotta be honest, I can't tell if this is boring or interesting. I'm having a hard time.
Well, there's a TED Talk where Kate talks about it well more than I could ever encompass. But what I was interested in it was that there's often this discussion between, does capitalism win or does this other model win? And she's just come to that discussion and said, look, it's neither either or. There's probably a new way to look at these problems in a different way. So yeah, have a look at that if you're interested in
I will.
it. But donut economics is something that I've been interested in learning about this week.
Okay.
So Dana, what have you been learning?
Okay. So another gym conversation. So he's building an API. So he's applying for some programming jobs. And since he's been out of work, he's been a stay-at-home dad for a little while. So he's getting back in. So he needs kind of a flashy portfolio. And so one of the things he's building is an API for a terrible reality show called 90 Day Fiancé that we have watched the entirety of our relationship. And he was putting in all of the data, and he gets to season 5, and it's I think I'm making this up, but it's the first season with a same-sex couple. And so he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't account for this in my data structure. And he's looking up like what other people do, and he was talking to me about like the way this is normally done. And apparently it's so the more I have this literally written down because I would get it wrong. The more empty data cells you have, the longer the API calls will take. So you can't put for each entry. So if you're going to put couple 1, okay, couple 1 is Jim and Dana. So it would be couple 1, man, Jim, woman, Dana. You couldn't put man 1, man 2, woman 1, woman 2, because for most of those, that second column would be empty data. So when you structure the data, you have to just put like person 1 and person 2. But then if you want to export the data of all of the women on the show, you would have to mark their presented gender in some place. So you still need that data somewhere. So I was just thinking about it, and I was like, how would they normally handle this? And Jim was like, well, they would just put like the second woman in the man slot. And so I'm thinking, okay, how much of the existing data, and now it becomes like a Y2K problem. How much of our existing like global data is sorted this way, where instead of going back and changing the original structure to accommodate for things like same-sex couples or people who are transgender or people who don't fit normal gender titles or have their own or whatever, and beyond gender, think about like race classifications and things like that. How much of our global data is kind of just fudged in the back end. And do we need to fix it?
Okay.
So like a curious person, like I'm a speculative person, a curious person would actually dig in and find out what the answer is. I just want to pose the question.
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting though? If you think about like global data structures and like healthcare and like boxes you check at the dentist, all of it.
I hoped that it was all linked up, but every healthcare app that I use seems to not be connected to anything.
None of it. No. Yeah. I worked on a pretty meaty digital health product maybe like 5-6 years ago that was trying to pull from oh gosh, it was Cerna EHR companies, electronic health record companies. And it was trying to like normalize that data and make it like talk. And there's just no way. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think about like how many women are classified in data as men, just in particular data structures because of the way it was built originally and how hard it would be to go back and fix the framework. Like I said, it's like a Y2K problem. You have to go update the data structure itself.
That might be why governmental and other organizations aren't stupid. They're just using really old data structures.
Oh, for sure.
Not recognize genders, sexuality, whatever.
Well, you think about the data structure of LinkedIn, like I can't put self-employed. It makes me put self-employed as a company. You can't just not have a company name. That's a weird data structure. So many people are freelancers, guys. Like this is not new.
Yeah, LinkedIn needs to get with it.
Get with it, LinkedIn. We're at you. So that's the learning section.
Awesome.
Moving on to ambitions. Oh, with a minute to spare. Okay. What was your ambition last week, Ross?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It was probably a long-running thing of not running community events and not really doing anything creatively.
What happened to the stash of IGTVs you had? You said you had a stash.
Yeah, they're still stashed. Yeah.
Okay. I'm anxious to see them. I'm not anxious about it.
I do have some time coming up, so that will be done.
Okay.
Or I'll just like refilm them because I feel more energized about it. And new hair, that kind of thing.
New hair. You need new videos. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Do you remember yours from last week?
I do. It was grace and patience and trying not to start my new project yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am not graceful. There was no grace involved. My week of solo parenting was awful and somewhat traumatic, if I'm being honest. We skipped all the baths. It was too much. But it was, everyone's fine. Everyone got to school. They may not have had their teeth brushed, but they're there. And no, I tried to be patient. I did not have a lot of patience. Kind of lost my patience at the grocery store. Didn't cry in public, but very close. And I did start the project. I did because I got this really cool idea for updating my branding that is perfectly good and a placeholder and doesn't need to be like we literally just talked about this in the last episode. And I tweaked a little bit. I mean, I sent it to you. I thought it was cute. I'm whatever. So my ambition for the next week is to focus on my new clients and make them feel safe and secure and welcome and treat them like the experts that they are. And kind of just try to cut down on the extracurriculars next week.
Well, I have to because I've I've got someone to be accountable for me. I'm going to create a longer form blog post around remote facilitation.
Yes, finally. I want to hear it. Well, I want to read it.
Yeah, I'm thinking at the moment it might be a kind of State of the Union type thing,
Yes.
and
Like a white
much
paper.
longer. It will be longer than I've ever written before. And audience, I'm not a good writer. I don't.
Okay, I'll edit
It's
it for
not.
you.
It's not my favorite medium, and I'm like, do I cut it into sections? Do I, whatever. So yeah, I want to do that. I want to cover some of the types of remote facilitation. I've covered the subjects of remote and asynchronous, and that's been, something I've spoken at events and interviews about. I want to cover the new slew of tools. Yes. I want to get in our favorite butter, but also fig jam. I really want to get on with that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You don't sound convinced.
I'm not sure how to use it yet. I think it's missing a practical application for me.
Have you tried yet?
No, I don't know how to use it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I read the landing page. I was like, I'm not sure this is for me.
This is probably one of the key differences between people that actually do what they talk about over those that talk about it. I don't think non-practitioners would try new tools. Just saying.
Wait, are you calling me a non-practitioner because I didn't try Fig Jam?
No, it's new.
You kind of are.
Haven't found a use case for it, but you would actually use it if you did.
Maybe.
Yeah. But I think other people that talk in this space would be like, oh yeah, I haven't used it and don't see a reason to. And some people don't create workshops. They just run them over and over.
True. But some people find their tool stack and they're very happy with that. And then they don't spend a lot of frivolous time like you and I do playing with new tools. You and I spend a lot of time playing with new tools because we're tool junkies and we're tool heads or whatever you call it. That's why we have a section on this podcast. But some people are like, nope, I've got my Zoom. I've got my Miro. I am perfectly happy. I don't need anything else. I'm like, Mazel tov. That's awesome. I wish I could be that satisfied. Ross, some people are happy with the status quo. Some people never change their browser to Chrome.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the status quo.
Me neither. That's literally why we're here. If we were happy with the status quo, we would own really nice houses and we would have really high-ranking job titles. We would just go to work and keep our mouths shut and we would win every day.
I know parents of my kids' friends that are like that.
Yeah, my family is like that. Everyone but me. It's great.
Yeah.
But we're ambitious.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. So yeah, I want to put that together. I might ask my friends to look at it afterwards, just make sure it makes sense. Yeah. So that's my ambition.
Speaking of ambitious, this has been the Go-Getters. You can find us at Go-Getters-Pod on Instagram. You can find us most places where you find podcasts, including now Apple Podcast and
hello.
Yeah, and Overcast, I think, too. So, and anyone that pulls the RSS feed from Apple. So awesome. Give us a review. Even if you don't like it, just tell us.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know nothing.
We're just doing this for us.
Cool. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you, Ross. See you later.